Hi everyone, it's Fiona Edgar here. This is a video about the upcoming eclipse, a full moon lunar eclipse. It's happening tomorrow, November 8th at 16 degrees of Taurus. This is the last eclipse of the year. So eclipses always come in pairs, and this is the second of the pair. The last one we had was a new moon eclipse, and it happened in the sign of Scorpio. So this eclipse is bringing the completion of a cycle. Now, what is Taurus? It is connected to finances, security, emotional security, as well as financial. It is a stubborn sign because it's fixed. It's connected to loyalty, and it's connected to everyday kind of reality stuff. So another thing about Taurus is it's connected to food. There may be changes within, I don't know, the food supply is a possibility, but also it will be your own diet and the type of food that you use to nourish your body. Now, a thing about eclipses is that food in particular is said to kind of turn to poison in your body if you eat the wrong kind on the day of the eclipse. So you might want to stay away from the junk food and the cake because it will really have a negative impact. So a lot of people, I think in the Hindu systems, they actually fast on the day of an eclipse purely for that reason. So you can do that if it's safe for you. This is a really stubborn, fixed eclipse. So it's rigid. It does involve change, of course, but Taurus being a fixed sign does not like a lot of change. It wants things to stay the same. So you can be holding on tooth and nail to a situation that really has to be let go. It will, because the eclipses are fated. They bring about changes that last over several months, potentially for the rest of your life, because certain things happen, like marriages, births, deaths, the ending of things, the start of something new, over such a long period of 6 months. Of course, that it could be a pregnancy, or those type of things will last for the rest of your life, obviously. So the eclipse is really unstable, and it really isn't very well aspected. Now, the last eclipse that we had wasn't too bad because it was conjunct Venus, but this is telling us more of the story. And eclipses will happen over a certain axis. Of course, this axis is Scorpio and Taurus. So it's all about intensity versus comfort, financial security versus joint finances. It's about skin shedding, turning a new page in your life versus things staying the same. So, of course, there is going to be a bit of a conflict. Now, the eclipse is conjunct Uranus. Uranus is that very unstable planet that's connected to chaos, really sudden changes and shocks, which you really didn't see coming. That's going to be a huge thing over this eclipse. Now, Uranus also is connected to everything that is anti-nature. One of the things would be stuff like AI, artificial intelligence, nuclear bombs, and that type of, and other things that I won't talk about here. But it is an anti-nature planet. When it's at its worst, it's extremely malefic. It is connected to freedom and revolution and things like that. But this is mostly going to be will be a big shock, and just a sudden change or a sudden movement in the course of your life. Now, I always say that these transits, it depends where you are in your life. So if you're on the right path, you may have a few hiccups here and there, or something that's mildly difficult to deal with this eclipse. But if you're on the wrong path, it can be complete destruction. So if you do lose something, if a relationship ends, or a job, or anything else, then just take it on the chin and try and go with the changes. Because a lot of people are really on the wrong path in life. I mean, where you should be going in life is it's easy to see in your birth chart. But a lot of people constantly work against what was set out for them before they became a physical person. And as a result of that, they are in constant conflict. Their life is an eternal struggle, but they don't listen. So if something ends, if something changes, then please just let it go. Now, this eclipse is opposite Venus. So it's probably going to involve your love life or the lack of love life that you have, or the way that you get your pleasure, the enjoyment that you have in your life. There's going to be the completion of a cycle here, which of course isn't bad in itself, because we do have to be constantly in motion in life to kind of have a fruitful and fulfilling time while we're here. Now, the big daddy aspect of this eclipse is a square to Saturn, which of course doesn't feel very good. It can feel bleak. Saturn is connected to endings, but Saturn is also connected to maturity, wisdom, taking a moral approach to your life. And instead of trying to waste your time on stuff that just temporarily feels good, Saturn really is demanding that you kind of man up here and be mature and take a path and an approach to life that doesn't harm other people or yourself. Now, there is a word that came to me, kept coming to me before I even looked at this eclipse, and it's sacrifice. There is the sacrifice of something. Sacrifice, of course, was a big part of polytheism or paganism before Christianity. If you're a polytheist like me, it still is a part of your life. Of course, it doesn't mean sacrificing your enemies or a horse or whatever. It can be the sacrifice of something that is negative for you. For example, overeating could be a big thing with this eclipse in Taurus. So perhaps you might want to sacrifice that. You sacrifice it to yourself and for the greater good. So giving up something that is bad for you is a great thing to do. And actually, Saturn is really going to support you on this and will reward you next year when we go into a new cycle of eclipses. But it could be the sacrifice of a person, a job, maybe like something to do with your finances, but it may be difficult for you to deal with, especially in the first few weeks that we are under this eclipse energy. But over the winter, you kind of manage it and you start to see the benefits of that. Now, your love life could also be affected here, of course, but it doesn't necessarily have to be doom and gloom at all. I think about my parents. My parents have been married for 55 years. They've gone through every personal transit that you can think of, every eclipse and Pluto doing things and Saturn, and they're still together. And now they've been through a rough time, of course, but they stuck together. So it doesn't mean that things are really necessarily going to end forever. Not at all. So pleasure, again, this eclipse is really like fun and pleasure versus maturity, your budget, your health, and that kind of thing. Mars retrograde, of course, is still doing its thing, and it was the ruler of the last eclipse in traditional astrology. So the issues that we're going to experience really with this eclipse and into the next several months will be stuff that we have dealt with before, maybe not quite got it right. And so we're getting another opportunity to set it right so that we can live our lives in balance, stability, and harmony. So you could experience some conflict with this eclipse due to a lack of understanding. With Mars retrograde in Gemini, it's very much like an extended Mercury retrograde type of energy. So you'll have all kinds of communication issues. But sorting this out in a way that is mature really will lead to that kind of Taurian stability that we all want in our lives. So unexpected changes and shocks, what those are, it's very hard for anyone to predict. What you need to do is really take a look at your chart and see where you have 16 degrees of Taurus, but also 16 degrees of Scorpio. Because again, this is a full moon eclipse. But I will be going over all of the signs and giving you a brief interpretation of what you might expect if you watch your rising sign and your sun sign and your moon sign as well, especially if you were born at night. So people may be acting in a way that is erratic or uncharacteristic because of the nature of Uranus. and it kind of wants to do its own thing above what anyone else wants. You could be feeling a bit of pessimism or even depression around this eclipse. So if you are prone to depression, then and you get a flare up of that, just try and work through it. It's not going to last forever. Don't worry. This is just a cycle. But really, there is a feeling of pessimism and loss through this eclipse because of the kind of bleak nature of Saturn. You could want extreme changes within your finances. Maybe you're seeking stability, but Uranus is not giving you that at all. Now, the other thing is that we could have earth changes and extreme weather around the time of the eclipse. Jupiter is back in Pisces again, which is known to cause flooding. I already saw that, and it literally just went back into Pisces recently. So flooding, but also earth changes like earthquakes, because Uranus is also in Taurus, plowing through those, making those kind of weird earth changes, which of course the earth will also reflect, as the other planets and stars do, what is going on with us on earth and how we are feeling emotionally. So you could experience and be thinking a lot about the darker themes of your own life, your own shadow, and the darkness in the world in general. So again, you may be feeling a little bit bleak or pessimistic with this eclipse and the energy of it. But just, it's good to examine the darker side of life sometimes. It can't all be roses and kittens and rainbows. We do have to have a reality check from time to time. Of course, we should not lose ourselves in darkness. We should not be glued to negative news all of the time, or anything that's negative, because of course you'll be depressed if all you're doing is looking at how awful the world is. That will make anyone depressed, even the most Jupiterian person. So what you can do really is focus on your spiritual path. Study that. You could also focus on your finances, where you want your finances to go next year, because maybe if you haven't been happy, you need to be more Saturnian in the way that you will manage your finances. The positive parts of this eclipse, it brings us a greater sense of maturity. You can become enlightened and therefore more wise over the next few months. You could sacrifice something that is harmful to you for yourself and for the greater good. You will definitely have more willpower with this moon. It's in a fixed sign, but well, actually there's a fixed T-square going on. So anyone that has a lot of fixed signs in their charts individually, they will be resilient and they will be determined. They will never give up. So everyone is going to be a bit like that under the energy of this eclipse. Never give up and never give in. That's what I say. So you will have more willpower to achieve your goals, more determination. You will be feeling stronger, especially if you cast away anything that you have been doing that has weakened you, relationships, friendships, things connected to your diet. So you will have more power ultimately by this eclipse. It can only be a good thing that we are all being sort of forced to face this head on. Of course, there could be some not so nice things to do with the economy in the world and food supplies. Also, this is a very warlike lunation. So again, that's nothing new. All of those things seem to be themes all the way up onto 2024. Okay, so that's really the general gist of this eclipse. Try not to worry too much. We've already been through a lot of challenging astrology. We'll be okay with this one. So you just have to remain strong and just realize that, you know, some of this may be loneliness, and feeling like you haven't got your tribe, or feeling like you're not being supported. But really what this eclipse is trying to teach you is to learn how to support yourself emotionally, financially, physically, all of those things. Self-responsibility is really the only way to go. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the signs individually and what the eclipse will mean for you. Of course, if you wanted to get a bigger more complete analysis, you would need to book a reading with me. But generally speaking, let's talk about those. So for Taurus and Taurus rising, the eclipse is falling into your first house. It's also affecting your seventh house. So this is going to be some kind of dramatic change in terms of your physical body, your identity. Now, this may involve a separation between you and another person, or it could literally be a new relationship that comes along with that axis there. So you're starting a new cycle in your life, a new cycle in terms of your physical body. So for Gemini and Gemini rising, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house. It's also affecting your 6th house axis. This could be the end of some health issues that you've been struggling with. It could be you starting to see the benefits of a new health routine that you most recently started. So over the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot of positive changes to do with your body and your health. But some of this involves really taking a good look at yourself and any addictions, food addictions, or bad habits that you have. You will find that you're self-undoing the things that you do that are bad for you. Those are going to be illuminated for you, and you will have the ability to see things clearly. Now, you will also have the ability to see your hidden enemies more clearly. So hidden enemies, what are those? Well, people that kind of pretend to be your friend or a caring family member, and actually they've been working against you. So you could see something like that happening. But the 12th house is also the house of blood and ancestral memories. Those are going to be stirred for you. And you may have some profound dreams or spiritual experiences. So for Cancer and Cancer rising, the eclipse is falling into your 11th house. It could be the end of connections with certain friends, certain groups that you belong to. Your 5th house is also going to be affected. And this, of course, is your enjoyment in life. So you could have a greater understanding of the dreams that you want for your life, the dream life that you want. You will also be able to see the restrictions placed upon that dream life. You will also see the work and the hard work and effort that you need to put into to achieve your dream life. Now, you will have some heavy loads from friends that are lifted for one reason or another. So for Leo and Leo rising, the eclipse is happening in your 10th house. It's also affecting your 4th house axis. So this is a new cycle of work that is starting for you. It's also affecting your home life. It could be the end of your current property. It could also be the end of your work premises. Somewhere new is going to come in. So what this is going to do is lead to more stability within your career. Now, you're also getting more restrictions with that. You're also getting the need to put in more effort and more hard work into your job and your career life. So you will be more dedicated to your career path, and you will be more willing to put in hard work. But you will also see the challenges that you're faced with and the changes that you need to make. But you will have the discipline, and you will be able to persevere and make those a reality. So for Virgo people and Virgo rising, you're going to experience this eclipse in your 9th house. There are going to be endings connected to travel, to religious and spiritual organizations. So also any legal issues that you have been involved in, you could see a kind of wrapping up of those. Your beliefs are going to be very strong with this eclipse. You're going to be more stubborn and rigid about them. And you will also want to talk about them more, but you may not have the audience to listen to you that you would like. Your 3rd house is also being affected here. That has got to do with your mode of transport, your vehicle. It's also connected to your siblings if you have those. But a cycle of completion is happening here for you. It should be okay for you, Virgo, as Virgo gets along with Taurus. They make a trine. So for Libra and Libra rising, the eclipse is actually happening in your 8th house. So this is going to be the completion of some financial issues, because again, your 2nd house is being affected here too. You will have more control over your finances. You could also be experiencing profound changes to do with your sex life, the occult, any shared resources that you have. Now, a thing about this really is that your the eighth house has got to do with death and rebirth. It's got to do with things ending and you're shedding a skin, and there's some really intense and profound transformations that are occurring here. But ultimately, regardless of how difficult those are, this eclipse is going to set you on a stronger path, full of stability. So for Scorpio people, Scorpio rising, the eclipse is actually falling into your 7th house. This is really affecting your partnership, your marriage, your relationship. So you will see some changes there. However, ultimately, this is going to bring more stability. It is not necessarily an ending. In fact, usually not, of course not. But the way that you act or interact or with your partner is going to change. It could involve marriage, engagement. It will involve more commitment because the sign of Taurus is here. Now, obviously, you're going to have some challenges there. There is a bit of bleakness with this, so maybe you're not seeing your partner as much as you would like, or maybe you're getting a reality check to do with your relationships. So for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, the eclipse is falling into your 6th house. So this has got to do with new daily schedules. It could be a daily work schedule. It could be your health routine. You're going to have more stability there. You will have more discipline when it comes to your diet and your health. It's also the end of any kind of like self-undoing issues, overeating, or things that you do that affects your health. You will find that you have more productivity and you are more focused on your goals. Sagittarius can be a bit of a scattered energy because it's mutable. So you could obviously have a little bit of ADHD or a lack of focus. But this is actually going to really help that for you. So it involves getting real and putting in the hard work where you need to, which you should be able to do. So for Capricorn rising, the eclipse is happening in your 5th house. This is the ending of a cycle connected to romances, children, your enjoyment of your life. So you could suddenly find that you have a lot of good creative ideas connected to a business. Now, the chance of you starting a new relationship is quite high if you're single. So that will be over the next several months, not necessarily immediately. Taurus and Capricorn get along, so this should be quite a beneficial eclipse for you. Of course, you still have Pluto transiting your sign. You're not going to be done with that for a year or two. And this is really transforming you in all levels. So maybe this next step is a new relationship, a new child, some kind of activity that brings you money, but also you get a lot of enjoyment out of. So for Aquarius rising, the eclipse is happening in your 4th house. This is connected to a new home, a new property, a new cycle connected to your home. It's a great time for doing any kind of ancestral work. You will have a better understanding of family problems. There could be some chaos connected to your home. You could move, or you could have sudden problems or stuff that you have to deal with all of a sudden in your home because of the nature of Uranus transiting through there. If you have to move, then do so. Don't try and stay in the same place. So for Pisces and Pisces rising, the eclipse is happening in your 3rd house. This could literally involve the ending of a mode of transport that you were used to, the start of a new one. So your transport may be changing. You could get a new car. The relationships that you have with your siblings may go through some chaos all of a sudden. And then those ultimately it ends in more stability for you. But things could get a little bit erratic between you and your siblings for a while. You could have issues in your neighborhood. There could be sudden people moving in or leaving that kind of upsets that peace or balance that you had for a while. Your thought processes are also changing. You're going to be thinking about your finances a lot and what you can do to improve those. So it's a good time for you to brainstorm. Your 9th house is also being affected, which means that your beliefs are coming into this, your connection with foreign people and foreign travel. So lastly, for Aries folks, Aries rising and moon, the eclipse is falling into your second house. This is mostly going to be affecting your money, your possessions. This is a cycle that you're completing connected to your money. Now, it may look a bit bleak for you initially. So you could be struggling financially. You could be, maybe you've lost the lifestyle that you got accustomed to, and your money situation has become a bit of an issue. So what you really need to do here is pay attention to Saturn. You need to put more effort in on your part to get to where you want to be financially. And you will do so because Saturn is giving you that discipline. Saturn is in Aquarius, which makes a good aspect to Aries. So the more effort that you put in on your part, the more mature you are, then the fruits next year probably are going to be a lot better for you, Aries. Your 8th house is also being affected. So, of course, your finances with your partner may come into this also. It's going to take a bit of a balancing for you, but try and cool that kind of Aries impulsivity down and make wise decisions. Put in the hard work and you will be a master in that second house before you know it. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. It is a bit of a mixed bag. It's a bit of a challenged one, this, but try not to worry about it because we've been through worse before. And it just means that we have to be more mature. There could be sudden changes that are difficult to deal with, but slow and steady wins the race here. And remember, you may not see any eclipse stuff really happening immediately. It could unfold over several months. That is the story of an eclipse. So I hope that you like this, guys. Leave me a comment. Let me know how your eclipse was, and I'll be back again soon.